growing up with so much violence, and it was much more minimal. There were the race wars and some of the things that were happening in the South, but I didn't really feel any of that because I was so far removed.
Was religion stronger back then too? Was it, like the church that we went to, were the churches more like that instead of more like, just...
No, because I went to a Baptist church, and no, I think that I wouldn't say churches were stronger back then, but I do think that in society there was more of a Christian value. Like, even if people didn't go to church, they honored who God was, and we were allowed in school to have freedom, more freedoms than there are. So there was more freedom of religion back then than there is now. I think now you have to be so careful to not step on anyone's toes. And so,
let's see. What's been some of the biggest changes in the world since you have been a child? Like technology, like the phone, or...
Well, this isn't technology, but I think the biggest thing is the breakdown of the family. When I was growing up, there were very few kids who came from broken homes. So that leaves a mark on society, on families, and it's very hard. So I think that was huge, and it affected all parts of life when our society started to break down. But I think computers, that's, I think, got to be the hugest shift, because we used to type on old typewriters, and then the phone technology and all that. I think the computer age and all that spun off of that was the biggest thing. And then transportation too. I mean, because we never would have thought of getting on an airplane. I didn't fly until your mom was a baby. It was too expensive and wasn't accessible. So probably travel. And it made the world a lot smaller, because you could, and television and stuff, because you could see what was happening across the other side of the world.
Looking at this room seems a bit more modern than I would think, like what it used to be.
Oh yeah, but in fact, I'll have to show you something when we're done here, something I got on the internet that shows about some of the changes.
Yeah, okay.
It's kind of fun.
What type of music did you listen to, or what type of music did the community listen to, do you know?
I grew up listening to classical music, even though our family was very poor. We always had really beautiful music. So I grew up listening to that. We had a few artists that we liked to listen to that was Christian music. But I loved the Beach Boys, and I got to see them in concert as a young girl. So I loved all that pop music, and it's still all in my head. All that surfer music.
Okay. You sort of already did this, but I think this will help me a lot if you describe it again. Tell me about the town that you lived in, or the area. You basically already did it.
Yeah. Okay. So China Lake is a Naval Weapons Center, and it's about 150 miles north of LA, and it's in a valley, and the Sierra Nevada mountains kind of circle it. So it's high desert and very hot in the summer, and there's cactus and sagebrush and stuff, lizards, rattlesnakes. I mean, all that. We used to go and catch horned lizards for fun, make them our pets and feed them, and so it's very dry, very hot, very dusty, and then when it would rain, sometimes they'd be gully washers and the flash flooding, and it would carry cars away if you got in the way of. It was really, really dangerous. There wasn't much out there except the base, so it wasn't like you could go over to the town next door and do stuff. It's pretty much all we knew, so you had to kind of create your own fun and interest.
How big was the base? Was it as big as Alamo, or no? Yes.
No.
Yeah, I wasn't guessing.
It wasn't that huge, and now it's really downsized. I went back for a visit with Grandma Ethel, and the two houses I lived in were all leveled. But there at the place where they'd been, there was tumbleweeds. There was one sign that said Hornet Street, and then up at the other place there was one that said Dewey Street. So the road signs were there, but there's no house there. It's very kind of eerie. So it's kind of like a ghost town. Yeah, again, there's a lot of excellent knowledge in that place, a lot of brilliant people that were designing missiles, and so I don't know what else to say about it. It was
there guns around, or was there, like, could you see signs of military a lot, or no?
Oh yeah, there, like when you went in and out of the base, those in motor police, they had guns, they had holsters. And throughout the day, you'd see police kind of
walking around.
No, they had these trucks. They were gray trucks, and they kind of mosey around. So they presented a presence. But the stuff that was done there was very highly classified. The Sidewinder missile was a big development from that base. So yeah, it was high classified information.
But so there wasn't really a town, but there was like a school and stuff outside of the military base?
Well, on the base there were actually schools. There was an elementary school out in the town, but on the base there were two elementary schools and a middle school. And the high school used to be, I don't know how that worked, but used to be on base, and I guess the kids had to get, I don't know how they got through. But there was a theater. 10 cents to get in. There was a barber shop and a PX, and there was a library. There was a church. So the basic things. There was a dry cleaner. So the basic things you would need. There was a military medical hospital, but and then there was a dentist who I strongly disliked. I didn't like going to see him because he was very rough. So there was everything really you needed on that base. Except, the shopping was kind of minimal.
Yeah.
To buy cars and that kind of thing, you had to go off the base.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, they didn't have car sales.
Right. Yeah. Do you think there'd be pictures of it online? If I search, okay.
Yeah,
After I'm done with this, I'm going to
Naval
search it
Weapons Test Center in NOTS, NOTS at China Lake.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll search that up. But yeah. What were the common jobs at your time?
Common jobs?
Yeah.
Well, of course, I lived on the base, so there were lots of sailors, enlisted men, officers, and they'd all wear their uniforms. And then there were civilians. My dad was a civilian, and he was responsible for the housing. Like if someone moved out, he had to have a crew come in and clean it, prepare it, and get it ready for the next residence. Then there were all the civilians that were like scientists and engineers, and so they were on the base too. Of course, there were people that ran the stores. I worked for a while in the PX, like when I was in high school. And then there's the truck drivers and the garbage truck drivers and something you'd have in a regular town. But most of my town was almost all connected to the military.
When did you move out?
When I got married.
When you got married? And like, how did you move out to, I don't know, wherever you moved next? Did you like move out of the military base when you got married?
Yeah, well, when I went to Oregon State, so I left after I graduated from high school.
Yeah.
I went to OSU, and then I met Jerry, and when we got married on the base, and then we left, and I only came back to visit, so we went to Oregon where we went to school. And,
okay. Oh yeah, how much would a carton of milk cost, basically? Like, what was the money like?
Okay, yeah, things, of course, we didn't have as much money, so, we didn't have as much to spend, but my guess was maybe $1. Food, of course, was much cheaper, but my mom used to take dry milk and mix it with regular milk to stretch it farther and add water, because we just didn't have much money for food, so we never ate out. There were maybe 3 or 4 restaurants. It's changed now, but then there were only maybe 3 or 4 restaurants, and we never had pop. I mean, you didn't have money for that kind of stuff. those were not necessities. So we didn't have that kind of stuff. But we didn't, we weren't hurting. We had everything we needed.
Yeah, you weren't.
And my mom cooked everything from scratch. So.
You sort of already explained this. What was the architecture like?
Yeah, it was not pretty. Just cement block everything.
And was the schools and church like that too a little bit?
Yeah, they had some brick on them too, but they're not very beautiful.
Was it like square sort of?
The houses were very square, and there might be pictures of the church. I remember was in an A-frame, and they had some glass on it. The church that I went to the Baptist church off the Navy base, it was that cement block stuff, those big rectangular. So no, there wasn't much pretty about it. Nothing. And there were nicer houses, like the high-ranking military, and they had nicer houses. They were up on Snob Hill. Yeah. And I had a few friends up there, so my piano teacher lived in the house that was beautiful. It had wood floors, but it was still a military housing, and it wasn't gorgeous. Nothing like you have here. Yeah. Let me assure you.
Okay, that's all the questiones. Is there anything like big you think that would help me with this, with my projects? Basically, I'm trying to explain your time basically in this project.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is life was just simpler. It took longer to do things. It took longer to do laundry. It took longer to clean. Nothing was as instant as it is today. So everything took longer. So our pace was much slower. And it was good.
I think that's better,
yeah, it was really good. Life was simpler, and I think people were really happy. I don't think we had to have so much. Yeah. We didn't have that much, but we were happy. Yeah. So I think materialism wasn't as rampant. But yeah, get on the internet and maybe you'll see some pictures and think of something that you did. Was that helpful?
Yes.
Okay. It was very different living on a base.
Yeah. But there was normal. Oh well, I thought that was like somebody lying under there.
Oh yeah.
But the base, how excluded was it from like Oregon State or from like a normal area town? Other than, was it pretty far? Like you said, it was desert area. It was not.
You mean the Navy base in Ridgecrest?
Yeah, our Navy base and basically that. Yeah.
There was nothing near us.
There's nothing near you. Was there a road? There was a.
Yeah, there's a highway. There's a highway like up at the top, and then you had to take a road down, and like I said, it was a valley. But we used to do a lot of cool stuff. Like I couldn't do it when it was super hot, but we'd go out and hunt desert diamonds and obsidian. What are they called?
Rocks.
Arrowheads.
Arrowheads, yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Native Americans that lived there, and there were some wonderful rocks and caves we used to explore because they used to take movies of like westerns and stuff out there. But so we did a lot of outdoor, when the weather wasn't bad. We spent a lot of times outdoors, just knocking around, finding rocks, lifting up boards and finding scorpions.
Was it sometimes dangerous doing that? There was some people.
Yeah, because there's things that hide under boards and are lurking snakes. But I never saw a rattlesnake. I saw plenty other snakes, and I saw lizards and stuff. But that was kind of our fun, was running around. And
How did you find out about Oregon State?
Jay went there on a basketball scholarship, and so then Mary went there, and I went up to visit when I was in high school, and I really loved the greenery and then at the time in California, if you wanted to be a teacher, you had to take an academic major. For instance, you had to study Spanish or English or history, and then your last year you did all your teaching classes. But at Oregon State, I could step right into an education degree, and I knew what I wanted to do. So that's another reason why I went there.
Can you still do that now?
No, now you have to take an academic major, and then after you get your 4-year degree, then you have to get a master's in teaching. You have to go 1 more year and do all your teaching stuff and student teaching.
a lot harder.
It is. It is a lot harder.
Okay, thank you, Grammy.
You're welcome. Thank you. It's nice to share. And let me, if you get some shirts.